In this question, we're asked to write down the three inequalities that define the shaded region. And so we can see that this shaded region is formed by three different lines. And so we'll call this line 1 in purple, we'll call the next line line 2 in green, and finally we'll call the last line line 3 in blue. And now we'll start by finding the equation of line 1. Now to find the equation of this straight line, we need to find its y-intercept and its gradient. Now we know that the gradient is equal to the change in y divided by the change in x. And so we can draw a triangle on line 1 to show this. Now on this triangle, we can see that the change in y is 1 take away minus 2, which is 3, and the change in x is 1 take away minus 2 again, which is equal to 3. Now we can say that for line 1, the gradient is the change in y divided by the change in x, which is equal to 3 divided by 3, which is equal to 1. And now we found that the gradient m is equal to 1. Now on line 1, we can see that the y-intercept is the origin, which is 0. And we can now also say that the y-intercept c is equal to 0. And now putting this together in an equation, we can say that y equals 1x, so just x plus 0. So we'll leave it as y equals x. Now let's move on to line 2. And we can do the same thing by finding its gradients. And drawing a triangle on line 2, we can see that the change in y is equal to 2, and the change in x is equal to 4. Now for line 2, we can say that the gradient, the change in y divided by the change in x, is equal to 2 divided by 4, which is equal to 0.5, and we find that the gradient is equal to 0.5. And now we need to find the y-intercept c. We can see that line 2 crosses the y-axis at the point 0, 1. Now since the y-intercept is equal to 1, we can say that c is equal to 1, and putting this together, we can say that y equals 0.5 x plus 1. And now finally, let's take a look at equation 3. Now with equation 3, we can see straight away that the gradient is 0 because it's a horizontal line with no slope, and so we can automatically say that m is equal to 0. And now looking at the y-intercept, we can see that the line 3 crosses the y-axis at the point 0, minus 2. And so we can now say that the y-intercept c is equal to minus 2. And now given that m equals 0 and c equals minus 2, we can put this together to form an equation for line 3, which is y equals minus 2. Now we need to find the inequalities that define the shaded region. Now with line 1, we can see that anything above line 1 falls in the shaded region. And so we'll also draw an upwards arrow by working out. Now with line 2, we can see that the shaded region is anything below line 2. And so we can draw a downwards arrow by our annotations for line 2. And now finally for line 3, we can see that the shaded region falls above line 3. And so we can now have an upwards arrow by line 3. And now to write down the three inequalities that define the shaded region. So with line 1, we said that the shaded region is anything above the line y equals x. And so we can say that y is more than or equal to x. Now with line 2, we said that the shaded region falls within anything below the line y equals 0.5x plus 1. So we can say that y is less than or equal to 0.5x plus 1. And finally, line 3, we said that the shaded region falls anywhere above the line y equals minus 2. And so we can say that y is more than or equal to minus 2. Now this question is worth 4 marks, so let's take a look at where these marks are allocated. Now the first mark is for finding the equation of the line y equals x. The second mark is for finding the equation of the line y equals 0.5x plus 1. And the third mark is for identifying the equation y equals minus 2. And now the fourth and final mark is for identifying whether these lines are less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, and for stating the final inequalities that y is more than or equal to x, y is less than or equal to 0.5x plus 1, and y is more than or equal to minus 2, allowing us to get the fourth and final mark needed for this question.